Imagine, just imagine having like instant access to a doctor, like a doctor who can understand you no matter what language you speak,
Right.
and explain, all this complicated medical information in your native language.
Yeah.
That's the potential of BiMediX2, and that's what we're diving into today.
It is, yeah.
You sent over some research on it called BiMediX2, Biomedical Expert,
Yeah.
LMM for diverse medical modalities.
Okay.
And our mission today is to just unpack like what this all means
Sure.
for the future of healthcare.
Yeah, really fascinating.
So maybe we could start with like what's the problem that BiMediX2 is trying to solve?
Okay.
The research mentions that that a lot of the existing medical AI is pretty much just English centric.
Right, yeah. And that obviously creates a huge gap
Yeah.
in access to quality healthcare for, a good portion of the global population.
Mm-hmm.
And think about it. I mean, even if you do speak English, wouldn't it be reassuring to just have like complex medical information explained to you in your native language?
Oh, yeah.
Especially when you're dealing with all this stressful stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The paper also mentions that even a lot of existing medical AIs, they struggle to combine like really strong text understanding
Yeah.
with accurate image analysis.
Yeah, that's a really crucial point.
Yeah.
Because, analyzing a medical image isn't, it's not just about identifying what you see. It's
Yeah.
about understanding the whole context.
Yeah.
The patient's history and the, all the nuances of medical language.
Right.
BiMediX2 is designed to do both.
Okay.
Handle that text and the image data
Yeah.
simultaneously,
But-
which makes it much more, effective.
So how does BiMediX2 work? We're talking about like understanding both Arabic and English, plus like deciphering medical images like X-rays and CT scans, right?
Yes, so it's a bilingual model and it's multimodal, which means it's built to process and understand both the text and images.
Okay.
And it's it's based on the Llama 3.1 architecture, but it's been trained specifically for this medical use.
Okay.
With a focus on these two languages.
Wow. So it sounds like a pretty complex undertaking. What makes it so different from other AI models that we've seen?
Well, one of the key things is that the data set that they use to train it.
Right.
It's called the BiMed-V data set.
Okay.
And it contains something like 1.6 million samples of medical interactions in both Arabic and English.
That's huge.
It's a lot, yeah.
Where did they even get all that data?
Well, they used a combination of existing medical data sets,
Okay.
patient conversations,
Oh.
medical reports, and images paired with expert explanations.
Okay.
And then to make sure that the data was truly bilingual.
Right.
They used these more advanced techniques, including like AI assisted translation
Right.
and expert verification.
So it's not just about the quantity of the data, but also the quality and the way it was prepared. That they really went the extra mile to make sure that it was accurate and truly bilingual.
That's one of the the key factors behind BiMediX2's performance.
Yeah. And speaking of performance, the paper mentions that it outperforms other state-of-the-art AI models on several different medical benchmarks.
Yes.
Can you give us some specific examples of what it can do?
Sure. So, for example, they tested it on this UP Hill factual accuracy benchmark.
Okay.
And this benchmark evaluates how well an AI can identify false medical claims.
Okay, so it's like a medical fact checker.
Exactly.
Okay.
And BiMediX2 scored really well on this.
Wow.
Even surpassing GPT-4.
Wow.
Which is a pretty significant achievement.
Yeah, that's really impressive.
They also developed their own benchmark called BiMedMBench.
Okay.
And this was specifically designed to test these bilingual medical AIs.
Well, so they created like a whole new test.
Right, to see how well BiMediX2 stacks up.
What were the results like?
So BiMediX2 showed over 9% improvement in English and then over 20% improvement in Arabic.
Wow.
Compared to other models.
That's a huge leap in performance.
It is.
Especially for Arabic. It really highlights the potential of this technology to really bridge the gap in healthcare for Arabic speakers.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just about the accuracy and understanding and responding to this medical information, but BiMediX2 can also analyze medical images like X-rays and CT scans and explain them in detail.
Really?
In either language.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
They show examples of that in the paper, right?
Yes, they do.
Like BiMediX2 actually
there are several
analyzing a real medical image and explaining what it sees.
Yes.
Wow.
For example, there's a CP scan of a lumbar spine.
Oh, okay.
And BiMediX2 was able to identify a fracture in one of the vertebrae.
Oh, wow.
And it didn't just, stop there.
Yeah.
It actually went on to explain what a fracture is.
Okay.
And even provided possible, causes.
Wow.
All in a way, that the patient can understand.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
It's like having a doctor right there with you,
right,
explaining your scans in detail, answering all your questions.
It is. That's the kind of impact
that
this technology can have. It can really democratize access to this medical expertise and empower patients to understand their own health.
So we've covered the problem that BiMediX2 addresses, how
Yeah.
it works, and some of these like really impressive results.
Right.
But I'm curious about the real world like applications. What could this actually look like
Yeah.
in practice?
I mean, the possibilities are really exciting. Imagine a world where people in rural areas
Yeah.
or people who speak languages other than English have this instant access
Right.
to an expert medical advice.
I'm already picturing this future where language barriers in healthcare are just a thing of the past.
Yeah.
But I think we should dig into some more specific scenarios
Yeah.
in part two.
Sounds good. Okay, so let's imagine like you're a doctor in a busy emergency room, and a patient arrives,
Yeah.
and they're distressed,
Right.
and they only speak Arabic,
Okay.
and they need a CT scan, and you need to figure out what's going on
Right.
quickly.
That's a situation where clear communication is just absolutely essential.
Yeah.
Especially when time is so limited.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So in that scenario, BiMediX2 could be like this super valuable tool.
Yeah.
You could upload that CT scan.
Yeah.
And then BiMediX2 can analyze it,
Okay.
highlight potential, problems, and translate those findings into, clear, concise Arabic for both you and the patient.
So it's not just about translating the words, it's about like bridging that gap between the doctor and the patient.
Exactly.
And this like complex medical information.
Precisely. And the paper, highlights how BiMediX2 is really good at this kind of nuanced analysis. It can take a medical image, identify those areas of concern, and then explain those findings in a way that makes sense to both the medical professionals and the patients, regardless of their language.
I mean, that's a game changer in terms of like both efficiency and just overall patient care.
It is.
It could help to streamline diagnoses, reduce the potential for misunderstandings, and ultimately just lead to better outcomes.
Absolutely. And they also showcase BiMediX2's capabilities with a variety of other medical images.
Yeah, they had that example with the ultrasound, right?
Yes. Okay. So they gave it an ultrasound of an ovary.
Okay.
And it was able to identify a potential cyst.
Wow.
And it did this with the same level of accuracy in both Arabic and English.
It's amazing to think that this technology could like be applied across so many different areas of medicine. They even mentioned like an example where it analyzed a microscopic image of a mosquito head.
Yeah, that's a great example of just how versatile this technology is.
Yeah.
It's not limited to just one specific type of image or specialty.
Yeah.
The potential applications, they span fields like radiology, pathology, even areas like entomology, like you said.
I'm starting to like see a pattern here. BiMediX2 just seems to like excel at tasks that require both like visual and linguistic intelligence.
Yeah.
It's not just recognizing the images, it's understanding them in context and communicating that understanding in a way that's like really meaningful.
You got it. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what makes it so powerful.
Yeah.
And they actually put it through all these rigorous tests to evaluate its ability to do things like answer questions about images, generate medical reports for scans, and even summarize these lengthy medical documents.
It sounds like they like really pushed it to its limits.
Yeah, to see what it could do.
Wow.
And it performed remarkably well.
So like for instance in the visual question answering tests, they presented BiMediX2 with a medical image, and then asked it like specific questions, like where is the fracture located, or what's the size of the tumor. So it's not just like identifying what's in the image, but it's actually like demonstrating this like deeper understanding of the medical context.
Exactly. It has to process both the the visual information and the nuances of the question to give an accurate and relevant answer.
And they found that BiMediX2 was able to do that with pretty good accuracy.
With a high degree of accuracy, yeah.
What about those report generation and summarization tasks?
Yeah.
Those sound particularly like useful for busy clinicians.
Yeah. So in the report generation test, they gave BiMediX2 a set of radiology images and asked it to just create a detailed medical report.
Wow.
And it was able to draft these reports that accurately described the findings, even using the right medical terminology.
So it's not just spitting out like generic descriptions. It's actually generating reports that a doctor could actually use in their practice.
Yes, it's like having an AI assistant, to help with some of that time-consuming stuff. And then with the summarization task, they gave BiMediX2 these long, complex medical reports, and asked it to basically just distill the key findings into a concise summary.
I mean, that could save doctors so much time. From having to like
countless hours.
Read through all these, dense medical reports. They could just like quickly get the essential information that they need to make informed decisions.
It's all about making information more accessible.
Yeah.
And empowering both the medical professionals and the patients.
Okay, so we've seen like BiMediX2 in action, analyzing images, answering questions, generating reports, and all of this in 2 languages. It's clearly like a very powerful tool. But I'm wondering, are there any like limitations that they discussed in the paper?
Well, they do acknowledge that BiMediX2 is still a research project.
Yeah.
It's not quite ready for widespread clinical use.
Yeah.
And there's always the potential for unexpected issues when you're dealing with these complex AI systems. And they say that further testing and refinement are definitely needed.
Right. So it's fascinating to think about how BiMediX2 could like really transform healthcare.
Yeah.
But I'm also curious about like what this research means for the bigger picture. They touch on this a bit toward the end of the paper, right?
They do, yeah. Toward the end, they raise some really interesting questions about the broader implications of this work.
Okay.
And they argue that the success of BiMediX2 really demonstrates like the importance of having this more inclusive approach to AI development, one that considers the diversity of human language and culture right from the start.
That's such an important point, because for too long technological advancements have really only benefited those who speak English or have access to resources in English.
Yeah.
This feels like a shift toward a more equitable future.
It is. It is. It's a good reminder that technology should be a tool for empowering everyone, not just a select few.
Yeah.
And they specifically highlight the potential of this bilingual multimodal approach to benefit other fields beyond healthcare.
Now that you've said it, it seems like the possibilities are just endless. Like what kind of fields are we talking about?
Well, I mean, imagine AI tutors that can break down complex subjects in multiple languages.
Right.
That could make education so much more accessible to a global audience.
Yeah.
Or think about AI assistants that can help to bridge cultural divides and facilitate communication and understanding between people from different backgrounds.
Those are such great examples, and it's not just about translating the words. It's about like
it's about the nuance,
understanding the nuances of different languages and cultures.
Exactly. BiMediX2 shows that it is possible to create AI that's not just technically advanced, but also culturally aware.
Right.
And that's a huge step towards a future where technology can really connect people and break down barriers.
It's really exciting to think about the positive impact that this kind of technology could have, like on a global scale.
Gotcha.
But I also want to go back to something that you mentioned earlier about the need for for further testing and refinement before widespread clinical use.
Yes. I mean that's crucial.
Right.
While the results are impressive, it's important to remember that AI is still a relatively new field, and there's always the potential for these these unexpected behaviors or unforeseen consequences when you're deploying these complex AI systems in the real world.
Yeah, so responsible development is about more than just like creating a cool new AI.
Right.
It's also about ensuring its safety and its reliability and that it's used ethically.
Absolutely. And the paper emphasizes the importance of ongoing research, collaboration with medical professionals, and rigorous testing in diverse settings to make sure that BiMediX2 is used safely and effectively.
It sounds like the team behind BiMediX2 is taking a really like thoughtful approach to bringing this technology to the world.
Yeah, they are.
I'm impressed by their commitment to both, like innovation and responsibility.
It's a good reminder that technological advancement should always be guided by ethical considerations and a focus on human well-being.
This deep dive has been so insightful. Yeah. We started with a research paper and we've explored everything from the technical details of BiMediX2 to its potential impact on the future of healthcare and beyond. I feel like we've barely even scratched the surface.
Right.
But it's clear that this is a story worth following.
It is, yeah. It's an exciting time to be witnessing all these advancements in AI, and I'm really eager to see how BiMediX2 continues to develop and shape the future.
I'm sure our listeners are feeling the same way. So until our next deep dive, keep exploring.
Yes.
Keep questioning and keep imagining the possibilities.
Absolutely.